And we're on the air.
Dang.
Mike turned it red. He didn't do a Summer button push, though.
No.
We were like, Summer, hit the button. And she was like, hold down. And we were like, wow. Whoa. Make sure
But you know what? Today was the first technical difficulty we've had in quite some time.
Since switching away
What do you think about
GoPro.
that? That feels pretty good. Mike, you may or may not know, but technical difficulties were the story of our life.
Also,
for about
I don't know
6
if the
months.
viewers at home can see, Phil's got the tabletop microphone stand we've been talking about for a year.
Looks good too.
You bought that thing. You've had that thing for like a year and a half. It's just been sitting at the gym.
I've had it for about a month.
So when we have a guest on, what happens is where the cameras are placed, there's like 17 cameras in here. And where the cameras are placed, it catches Phil's microphone arm, this guy. And when we don't have a guest, it's fine because it's one-on-one, right? But when we have a guest, there's two on this side, and it's just kind of logistically not great.
Yeah.
Anyhow, bought that. And
Looks good too.
Looks
I mean,
good.
I like the look of the arm. You know, it looks very professional. But
this baby's nice, man.
I like it.
my Billy One microphone
Well,
stand.
it's been a long time coming. We got Mike on the show. Mike on the mic. Good to have you, Mike. Welcome to the show, dude.
Glad to be here.
Hey, yeah?
Yeah.
Are you?
You sure?
You sound like there was a question mark. I'm Ron Burgundy.
Who put the question mark?
Yeah. So those of y'all that don't know, Mike is the owner and operator of Live Lean RX Houston. And there's multiple things going on at Live Lean RX. But I think, would you say, Mike, was it fair to say the main gig's the Dexa Scanner?
That's the big part of it, yeah.
That's the big part. You have a few other things going on. We can get into that if you want to. But Mike is actually, you're the only one that I know of even in the area that.
Yeah, there's about, from what I do that's open to the general public, there's about 325 in the country. In Houston, there's only 2. Me and another partner.
And they're like on the north side.
They're in River Oaks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So they're pretty fun. I mean, they got their own whole other, space up there. So yeah, 2 in the Houston area, 325 in the country. That's not very many.
No.
The Dexa Scanner, until I met you, I didn't even know that it existed. And it's a really cool thing. So that, like I was telling you before the show started, this type of show, somebody who does what you do with the machine that you own, just asking you about that and letting you talk about it is plenty of content
For
all
sure.
on its own. And so Mike was the one who he sponsored the competition that we did that I lost.
I came in second.
Mike was the first person
First
to lose.
loser?
I was the second person to lose, and Lucas was the third person to lose. Phil actually won. But Mike sponsored it. He scanned us, and or he scanned all of us in the beginning, the 45-day mark, and then again at the end. And these guys explained, y'all two explained Dexa to me before we went. But actually going there, getting scanned, and then going over the printout with you just really, it took it to the next level. I already thought it was going to be in depth and that it was going to be beyond me. But then when I like studied the data with you and you actually dug into it and told me what it was showing me, I was blown away that this is even.
Can't hide from the Dexa scan.
You can't hide from the Dexa scan.
Yeah.
So Mike, I'm gonna let you get into Dexa a little bit, and then we'll go into Live Lean. And then we'll just kind of build off of what you start telling us. But I don't think Phil and I were able to even rattle off what the acronym.
I can't remember.
So Dexa, DEXA.
I looked it up one time and told them, but I can't ever remember what
it's an acronym.
Yeah.
And we'll let you start there, and then kind of tell us about the machine, what it does, and then a little bit about your business and how you use it to help people.
Okay. So it was kind of the same experience for me. It was about 7 years ago I got my first Dexa scan, and it was a Dexa Fit on Katy Freeway. And I was just like you. I was blown away. I was like, this is great, and I want to use this to
You didn't have a machine?
No.
You didn't even know? Okay.
And it was interesting enough, I spent most of my life as a data analyst for 27 years. But before that, for a decade, I was a radiographer. I was an x-ray tech.
Okay.
And I was familiar with the machines, but somebody said, I'm using a Dexa machine. That's normally used for bone density. That's The acronym stands for dual emission absorptry.
Okay, X-ray absorptiometry?
X-ray absorptry.
Absorptry,
so,
okay.
Really what it is it's 2D tomography.
Okay.
So it's cutting scans, and then the software compiles it. What changed over the years is the bone density machine is used to measure bone calcium levels in individuals, and that technology has been around about 40 years. Well, about 15 years ago, GE designed the software so you could do soft tissue. Computer technology changed is what happened. So it can be compiled very quickly. And so it was kind of a reapplied technology with an existing piece of hardware.
Yeah, they kind of added to it.
Exactly.
So it kind of, the way I understand it, I'm decently familiar with radiography because I've done that, not in the medical field, but in the refining industry where I work. That's kind of where I started. And essentially we use very similar equipment to X-ray equipment to see what's going on inside,
Right.
how much wall thickness we have on certain pieces of equipment, is there damage inside, right? So I'm decently familiar, but the way I see it, the way I understand it is it kind of layers, it scans you, and then it kind of layers the images, right? It kind of it'll still pick up your bone density.
Yeah.
It'll pick up your body fat composition, your muscle mass. There's multiple things that this thing picks up as it scans you and compiles the data for you.
Yeah, outside of MRI, it's the only tool that is going to give you your body composition, your body fat, your bone, your muscle. Those are the three tissues that it's seeing all your tissue, but those are the ones that it focuses on. And it's within 2% accuracy, and it's an actual measurement. It's not an extrapolation.
Right. And also another thing I thought was cool too, it even tells you your visceral fat, which I was only moderately familiar with what visceral fat was before I went and talked to you, and then we had a little conversation about it, and then I was intrigued by it, so I kind of went in and read some more on it. So your visceral fat is the fat that you don't see, right?
Correct.
In and around your organs.
Yes, it's intra-abdominal, so it's sharing that space with your organs, right? And the differences in the two fats between body fat and visceral fat is body fat is mostly correlated to how much you eat. Your body stores excess energy by design. If you take in more calories than you expend in energy.
Right.
Where visceral fat, there is a correlation to total body fat, but most of it is about what you're eating.
Okay. Quality of the food.
The quality of the food, right. So the main thing that visceral fat feeds off of is sugars.
Okay.
So when we keep our sugars in check, we tend to have low degrees of visceral fat. High degree of sugar, whether it's from food or alcohol, visceral fat skyrockets. So,
right. So I remember you were telling me you're like, I can pinpoint my people with sweet tooth, somebody who has a sweet tooth or an alcohol, regular alcohol drinker.
Exactly. In fact, a lot of times when my healthcare practitioners send me clients, that's the number they focus on. That number in their blood labs, you can pretty much tell what someone's consuming. You don't know the exact foods, but you know the composition of it.
Right, and you know the quality, whether it be high, low, or
how often are we going to Wendy's?
Yeah,
You're right. We can answer that question.
It will.
Yeah, plus or minus once or twice a week.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
That's another reason why I like the tool in general, because I have a wide variety of customers, and people come in for all different reasons and backgrounds. But I can apply what I'm seeing there. That probably the greatest reflection of your health going forward and how to track it and know what it is.
Absolutely.
Is your blood labs and then your body composition.
I was going to say that
because one's all about physiology and the other one's about biochem. So if you have those two metrics, there are other things to measure, but that's probably 95% of it right there.
If you were going to pick two to really lay the groundwork and put the bumpers up, so to say, if you have good solid blood work and a good solid Dexa scan with all the data, you can kind of design it. For what you can figure out what's wrong or what's going on and how to fix it.
Exactly.
And arrange to operate within.
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I didn't create the business model. This model comes from professional sports.
Yeah.
Most professional sports teams have one or two Dexas in their field house now.
Good
deal.
They're doing body comps. They're doing metabolic tests, which is the other thing we do at Live Lean, and they're drawing blood labs. From those three data sources, you have just about everything you need for human
Peak
performance.
athlete performance.
Yeah. Well, even coming from an everyday person, what do you think is the core things from the Dexa that you're taking away? Say I'm coming in, say I sign up, I'm just going to use our clients as an example because that's just the easiest way because Mike and I work together a lot. A lot of my clients go see him to kind of get started and get set up. Yeah. So that person that's coming to see us, let's say they're in their 40s, 40 pounds overweight, haven't been eating great. They're just getting started with their exercise. What are you looking for, or what is that person looking for? What's of value to them in the Dexa, and how are they using it to improve their life or commit to their new journey? Or you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's a good question. So first thing I try to do is get them off looking at the scale. Okay, and we focus on composition. In fact, I just had one of your customers come in who's making really great progress. This particular person was a little upset that she hadn't been losing much weight. The deal is, though, she's smaller. and she's.
I think I know who you're talking about. She texted me this morning.
Yeah, she's putting on muscle and she's losing body fat. So she's getting healthier, she's getting stronger. Things are happening, but there's still was looking at the scale, even though she's feeling better. Now, once we went through the metrics and saw that, and she sees we should make improvement, completely change of heart and attitude. It was like, okay, what I'm doing is actually working.
Right.
So it validates the effort. And in fact, not only just from personal trainers, the majority of my professional referrals come from other nutritionists, even though I have 2 nutritionists that work for me. But other nutritionists send their clients there because it literally takes off a month or 2 of trial and error. And it also later they send them back to validate their nutrition and what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about a tool, and it's the range is so wide. Your everyday average individual of any background, any age, any gender versus professional athletes of any type can use this tool to take all the guess. Is that your slogan? Take the guesswork out of nutrition, or take the guesswork out of fitness?
Our number 1 slogan is find out what you're made of.
I think we need to add you can't hide from the Dexa.
Yeah, that should be in there
like that
for
one.
sure.
So we kind of made
Definitely
that up when we started the competition. But what I was getting at for a trainer, what a tool to be able to. I mean, even for just the individual themselves, but if you're a trainer who's putting people on protocols and you want to know for certain that what you're doing is working, there's no better way. And I can tell you firsthand experience that I had. So we started this competition, and we each kind of did our own thing to try to lose this body fat and gain muscle was 2 main goals, right? Improve body composition. And we started, and I thought I had this formula working, man. I was like, yeah, I got my calories at this number. I'm hitting this much cardio. This is my training split. I'm doing great. I'm hitting all, and I wasn't messing up. I was doing exactly what I wanted to do. And we check in, found out I had regressed. Found out I was moving the wrong way, right? And such a cool, I mean, it sucked in that moment because I was like, damn, I've been doing the wrong thing for 45 days. But, if it wouldn't have been structured, our competition wouldn't have been structured like that, I could have went back in 2 weeks or a week or 2 and automatically known. You could have said, Darryl, hey, look, whatever you're doing, it's not moving you in the direction you want to go. So how about we pivot here? Which is exactly what I did.
That's what we do. We call that track your progress over time.
Right.
So usually what we'll do is especially if I have someone who's new and kind of unfamiliar with nutrition, and which is the majority still, 40% of every client that walks in my door is their first DEXA, but it's not their first attempt at a diet. So I try to get them off the scale, and I try to get them out of the diet mentality. We're going to support a lifestyle. So I get a baseline Dexa scan and a baseline metabolic reading with a metabolic cart. From that, I construct their calorie and macro plan. And then usually it's like, I will tell them, come back in about 90 days or X amount of weight loss. Okay.
Right.
Because once I have a delta, then I can look within that and we can create traction. That's what we're doing. We want to match your food to your body to your goal. If we get that, things start happening really quickly.
Absolutely.
If those aren't in alignment, it doesn't work too well.
Yeah, you can get a really dialed formula. Based off of this,
and I can prove it.
Because we prove it over time. And what I've noticed is the hardest part is getting people to go for the first time.
Exactly.
Because they have to overcome this fear. They're like worried about it, and they're scared of what they're going to see. I always try to tell everyone, just go. Yeah. Well, usually I'm talking to people that are my clients, right? So it's a little bit different. So what I always tell them is just go. Don't even look at it. Have Mike send it directly to me. I'll look at it. And we do that sometimes because some of these people, especially females usually, they don't want to know. Right. They don't want to see it. They just want to start moving forward. I said, well, the most important thing, and Mike, tell me if you agree, the most important one is the second one.
Yeah.
It's the second one. It's the progression from the first reading.
That's your baseline.
I try to get people just to don't worry about what the first one tells you. Realize it as data. It's analytics helping us get you set up. But there should be zero emotion connected to that first scan. Right. I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I do, because one of the things I've learned a lot, just 3 weeks ago, I hit my 4,000 client. Okay.
Nice.
So,
nice.
And
that's awesome.
And we just started our 4th year. So one of the things is, like I said, about 40% of everybody comes in, it's their first scan, but they're not new to dieting. I can't tell you how many times people walk in, they're like, I've already lost this amount of weight, now I want to see where I'm at. Because they didn't want to do it in the beginning, because they just, and this is both genders. Yep. They're like, I wish, and then they always say, I wish I'd have done this in the beginning.
Yep.
So, and I try to remind people, and that's really what I pitch, is that it's a tool to get you there.
Right.
Okay. It's not, eventually it'll become a scorecard, but this is what's going to help you get where you want to go.
You got to establish that baseline. And Mike, you said something earlier. You said it a couple times. I think I don't want to sit here and say that the scale is not a great tool, right? But that's what it is. It's a tool, and it isn't always the right one.
Yeah.
For example, this client we're speaking of, she hasn't been losing weight, but she comes in and you can tell her, you've lost. I'm not going to say these are her numbers. You've lost 4% body fat and gained 2 pounds of muscle in the past X amount of time.
Right.
Although you do weigh exactly the same, right? Or very close.
Exactly.
And that can be that.
That the metrics, and some of the times that we get the things that we get wrapped around the axle on, this particular person actually knew that they were smaller. Their clothes were fitting looser.
Right.
But the scale was still messing with the head. Yeah. So once the numbers validated what she was already feeling, that I am better, stronger, leaner, smaller, then everything was fine.
I think it's so important to it.
But
it in that moment you feel good, but let's not dismiss how that's going to affect her trajectory over the next 1, 2, 3, 6, 12 months.
Right.
Because we've now validated that confidence.
Exactly.
Because otherwise,
she knows she has the right formula.
Everything in fitness is a vicious cycle, and it can be a vicious cycle up or down, meaning that when you don't feel good, you don't eat good. When you don't eat good, you don't feel good. You don't feel good. You don't work out. You don't work out. You don't feel good.
Right.
But now that we've validated that she is progressing and feeling better, she's automatically going to feel better, which is going to lead to her eating better, which is going to lead to her feeling better, which is going to lead to her working out more.
Confidence goes up. Yep. She knows for a fact that what she's doing is working.
Yeah.
She knows there's no doubt. There's no doubt in her mind, hey, look, here's the numbers.
Now that and now that she's newly motivated, I made some tweaks to her nutrition.
Yeah.
From what I saw in the data.
Right.
Because things I look at, for instance, it's like there's growth in the extremities. Her past what she had put on as her total muscle in her body.
Right.
And we're losing body fat. That's a good indication that protein's pretty close to where it should be, but still not enough.
Right.
Because the extremities are what most people, when they work out, that's the quickest thing that's going to respond. All right. So when I see that, then I'll make a change. And there's a lot of ways that I look at that data. And that's what I'm doing is tweaking and tuning that diet. We get it pretty close in the baseline, but the follow-ups, especially after 2 or 3, I can pretty much get someone dialed in.
Yeah, and you bring up extremities. Also, something that was completely beyond me, the Dexa will actually give you symmetry too. So it'll essentially split you down the middle and say, hey, right side versus left side, right leg, left leg, and so forth all the way down. And I thought that was really cool, and that's something to be mindful of whenever you're just trying to get better all the way around. Make sure that you are staying symmetrical, right? And not that I don't think anybody goes in the gym and uses a different weight per side,
right?
But it can be telltale for certain issues, right? If you're
exactly, there's a few things I look for. So none of us are perfectly symmetrical,
right?
And that's normal. What I look for is if I see something that's pretty significant, and I'll ask about injuries, because a lot of times that injury could even be a decade or more old. And whenever we have an injury, we compensate because we don't want to be in pain. But after the injury's healed, we may still keep compensating because that muscle memory's there.
Right.
Okay? But a lot of times, back to what you were saying, the thing when people work out, no, they don't do different weights. But guess what happens if you don't make that mind to body connection? Your dominant side will get more out of line with your other one because you're pushing up that last little bit and you're not thinking about it. And then in some cases, like when we do have injuries or someone just hasn't been paying attention or their form is bad, it's something that I will tell you, hey, point this out to your trainer. Yeah. Okay. They can look at it. And sometimes we'll say, you may need to do some isolation on this leg or arm so we can get this more symmetrical.
Right. So I broke my collarbone several years back in high school, and I never had a Dexa, but I can tell you for sure, well after it was healed, I still had mentally had an issue with I would walk around just holding my arm like this, like it was in a sling still. I would be hesitant to go, when I was underweight bench pressing, for example, or especially overhead pressing. I was very there was still a mental block where I was worried about putting a lot of pressure. So in reality, I probably overworked this side, and this side was just not even really getting worked, my dominant side, right? Or my better side. So I'm glad you said it though. For them though, if you notice a significant difference, you can say, hey, you know, there's something going on. You know, like you said, tell your trainer to, you know, you got X amount of offset over here, or you're definitely favoring this side, and that's something that can help them,
Right.
you know, just keep from getting way off track. You can kind of put the bumpers up and pull them back in.
Correct. Yeah, and sometimes people have like something's going on in their back. They have legitimate injuries.
Right.
But you know, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. But you don't want to have a mass imbalance that's aggravating the condition.
Yeah.
So
I was going to go there too, because if it, say you are slightly off, right, and then you don't realize it and you're getting worse and worse and worse, you can eventually end up in some serious pain.
It usually leads to some type of injury.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be an injury situation.
Like for instance, upper body. Yeah, when people are doing overhead lifts, if they get too imbalanced there, then that's putting undue stress on rotator cuff and AC joints.
Yep. So. And you end up with a whole nother world in a whole nother world.
Yeah, and you don't want to get hurt, because it's that vicious cycle thing we talked about, right? I've been through it. I remember you went through it with your shoulder, right,
Yes.
recently. Yeah, being hurt really sucks. Mentally, physically, emotionally, everything gets affected. You know,
and then whenever you try to get back into it, you're sore and you're not as motivated, and you're babying it like I was doing, like I was telling you, and you're not really going as hard as you should. So you can end up with a whole nother world of issues. So that symmetry thing was really cool to me when I looked at mine. And I think mine I was pretty close. I would say normal range, but I can definitely see how somebody could end up straying way off that path. I wanted to ask you something, Mike. So you said 6 years ago you got a Dexa up in Katy.
Right. Was
that experience what prompted you to want to get a machine and start Live Lean?
Yeah, that's what planted the seed.
Yeah.
So my thoughts were, this is great. This is going to help me get to the next level. I want next time. I just happened to be working up in that area. The business I was working for at the time, my employer moved, so that was the closest thing to me. So I said, I'm going to go. I was just checking it out. Right. I think it was a Groupon. Okay.
Oh,
and
cool.
then, so then I was like, I'm going to schedule something on my side of town. There wasn't anything. And then I found out how scarce it was. So it kind of like, you know, I used to be an x-ray tech, and this is like a niche market. And there's not a lot of players in it. Then I started studying Dexa Fit and Composition ID, which are the two largest players in the country.
Yeah.
And I liked a lot of the things they were doing, but I also realized really quick, because I just happened to be the CIO of an advertising company, that they sucked at marketing.
Right.
And I knew that it was like, I could dominate this really quick.
Yeah.
Especially in Houston.
That's cool. Oh, yeah. Massive city.
So, and then it was about 4.5 years ago, the company I was working for sold, and I had an equity stake. And I had, over the last 2 years, I put together a business plan. And kind of the nature of the way I do things is I'll create a business plan and then try to shoot holes in it and tell myself why I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I could
not a bad technique.
I couldn't get there. And I was like, there's no reason why I shouldn't do this. I can make this work.
Right.
So it was to become my retirement job and just kind of do it part-time. And it's gotten a lot bigger, a lot quicker than what I was expecting. So I'm kind of like bursting at the seams right now. I'm going to have to make a decision this year.
Right.
I've got 2 nutritionists that work for me. I could probably support a third, but I'm still the only one doing the test.
Right.
And I'm pretty maxed out. So I'm going to have to figure out if I want to grow or if I just want to
maintain.
Nah, he wants to grow.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to grow.
Yeah.
So you had this experience, you create a business plan, you try to shoot holes in it, you can't. And so you're like, okay, I'm going to pull the trigger, and you go buy a machine.
Yeah.
And then did you immediately go into were you still working full time?
Well,
when you
No, I had just
or it was when they sold.
They sold.
Okay.
So and I didn't want to go forward with the new owner. And I was about ready to. I had done IT for 27 years.
Okay.
So I was ready to do a change. I've done these before. It was like,
Perfect storm.
Yeah.
Perfect storm happened.
It worked out well. And the other thing, as I was studying these companies, I figured out something too, that it's the business model is like, for instance, there's a high degree of volatility, okay, and it's a volume business. Part of it is the scans, and a lot of people just come in to get their tests. They may be working with someone else, and it's just for a moment in time. But I also realize that health and fitness is something that is part of people's discretionary income. Maybe it shouldn't be, but it is. All right, and when things get tough, they stop, or when they lose their will and haven't created a habit, they'll stop. So I knew my cost of overhead had to be very low, and I had some significant advantages there. One of the reasons that you don't see these all over the place is because it is very difficult to get a X-ray machine, which is medical equipment and emitting radiation, for health and fitness. Okay,
Right.
I mean, it's really hard.
You have to be permitted to purchase it, correct?
Yeah, and it's usually a 1.5 to 2 year process if you can even get one. And then on top of that, you have to have a medical director. They want a piece of it. You have to have a radiation safety officer. They want a piece of it. So the $60,000 machine now has another $4,000 or $5,000 a year that you have to service.
Yeah.
Well, the medical director is a friend of mine. He doesn't charge me.
Good deal.
I am my own radiation safety
Sure,
officer
RSO.
because I've got that certification.
Good.
And I found a place that had really good rates on rent.
Yeah.
And I keep my overhead.
Awesome area, awesome location.
Yeah, the location
where you're at is great. Right down the street, actually, is a great spot to be. So, was it something that you said they sucked at marketing? Did you market it yourself first of all?
Yeah, I did.
So you started off in the beginning marketing yourself.
Yes.
And was it something that did it come on quick, like as far as business?
Yes and no. I had projections to get to break even within 10 months, and I hit that in 6.
Good.
At that time, this is pre-COVID, because I opened in December
Right.
2019, and
Perfect.
I was booking up about 85% to capacity and about 2 to 3 days ahead. So, but I always still had gaps in my schedule.
Right.
COVID hit, and the first shutdown that was mandatory. We shut down for 42 days. I had no idea what. I think all of us was trying to figure out what the world was going to look like when we reopened. I had no idea if it was like everybody.
Such a strange.
Yeah, well, it turned out to be a positive. One of the positives of this pandemic is that a lot of people got health conscious really quick.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much as soon as I reopened, it was business as usual. And then like the next week, my phone literally was blowing up, and I was booking a week in advance, and it's never stopped.
Such a good sign. I mean, you talk about say whatever you want about COVID or really any serious illness, I guess, but especially COVID, since that's what kind of scared everybody. That's what brought on the shutdown.
Right.
No matter how you slice it, they argue this medicine works, that medicine works, this vaccine, this doesn't work, this does work. You cannot argue that the best way to combat it is to be in great physical shape overall.
Well, that's what everybody figured out,
Yeah.
aside from the politics, that regardless whether I get COVID or don't get COVID, I'm going to have a better outcome the healthier I am.
Regardless.
That one phrase, pre-existing conditions,
Yep.
is what kicked off like a new surge in people wanting to get healthy.
Yeah, that was the main thing.
I saw my own neighbors that live in my subdivision it's kind of a neighborhood that people don't sell. They stay there forever. Most of us are the original homeowners. So I've known these people for like 25 years.
Yeah.
I saw neighbors I hadn't seen in a decade out walking.
Yeah,
Okay.
out at walking the dogs. And
I was like, oh, you still live
I
here?
haven't seen you in 10 years.
Yeah.
Guy lives 2 doors down.
And a good percentage of them are still doing it. They're like,
Good.
hey, this feels pretty good.
great.
You know?
Yeah,
So,
so glad to hear that, man.
Yeah.
And both of y'all's businesses, you can speak to this trend, but that's really cool that that you saw such an uptick. It's great for you, obviously, from a business standpoint, sure, but it just really makes me feel better about where people's minds are at. Because, like you said, it was so confusing during that time. Nobody knew what was really going on. You didn't know who to believe. You got 100 people saying 100 different things.
Yeah.
But this data, we're talking about data. The data of you reopening, business as usual, and then exponential growth sounds like since then is just a really good sign.
And, a lot of things that I thought were going to be competition ended up being benefits as well, too. For instance, a lot of people were looking at like we always look at what cost is. Okay. A lot of people think, well, this is too expensive.
Yep.
Or, it's like the gym memberships are too expensive. Dex is too expensive.
Personal
Now, when
training.
they started looking at what healthcare was costing, because that was another thing that was thrown into the forefront when people were seeing how expensive it is to not be healthy.
Right.
So, and also, on the internet, there's an endless supply of new diets and new philosophies. Like I said, most of my people that come in, they've already been through a lot of this. So that's kind of a good thing too, because they're like, it's not my way isn't working anymore.
Right.
Yep.
And they're seeing their friends that come in there, and it's like I have relationships with different trainers, nutritionists, but the ones that do the best in their business, they send their clients to me because they want to share and show those results to their clients. That reinforces them, as Philip was talking about.
Yep.
So it's a great symbiotic relationship that you didn't have before, because it's no more like, well, am I doing good or am I not?
Yeah. There's no in between.
No.
For sure. You can't hide.
Yeah.
It doesn't. There's no better. You said it's symbiotic. A nutritionist, a personal trainer, and somebody like yourself. There's no better. Well, you got those 2 things or those 3 things going on, or you're actually investing into those 3 things. You're gonna succeed.
Right.
It's almost impossible unless there's some really crazy underlying issues that you don't know what's going on. Then you throw a blood panel in there, and guess what? You know, right? So such a cool thing that you know, you can take all the guesswork out of this journey.
Yeah, and I have one of the other partnerships that I made 2 years ago. There is a lot that is tied to basically someone's medical health as well too. I realized I needed to partner with somebody for functional medicine and how I caught that was it doesn't just happen with females, but they get hit a little bit harder. But I had women that were coming in their 40s that stay fit, they eat well, they track, they have gym memberships. But this was the year that they put on 10, 15 pounds. Yeah. So I was thinking, it was like, and you know, I was like, do have quite a bit of background in healthcare, and I was like, when was the last time you had any blood work? Yeah. Well, my doctor said I was fine, and I realized it wasn't fine. Right. Yeah. So we partnered with Ways to Well, and that's been really good because it's a lot of times we can jumpstart someone again just by correcting what's going on in their medical health.
Right. So, this is really cool. I didn't even think about because I knew about this partnership and I was like, man, that's great. You can prescribe somebody something, right, as far as a training regimen and diet. You send them to Mike, you know for certain that what you're doing is working, and so do they. I didn't even think about that.
The biggest thing, to be honest, with our partnership, for me anyways, biggest benefit for me is what we talked about earlier. Making sure that client X knows that they're moving forward. Yeah. The number one way that we retain clients is that we make sure they get results.
That's it.
Right? Yeah. If our clients get results, they ain't going nowhere. Yeah. You know, they'll stay, they'll be happy, they'll bring their friends, you know, and everybody wins, right? Yeah. Mike wins, we win, the client wins because they get results, right? There are no losers in this equation. And that's the biggest thing for us.
So that was in the beginning, one of the things I was doing, and a lot of us do this sometimes, especially when you're new, but I used to heavily discount trainers and nutritionists. And honestly, I don't do it anymore. I just don't. But they still send me clients. Right. And the reason is because they're getting as much value out of it as I am. So
their client retention, you know, and everybody knows this. If you got clients that are getting crazy results, their friends are going to come, their family's going to come, their spouse is going to come, whoever it is, coworker, right? Whoever it is that's going. I've seen so and so looking really good and feeling better, and just talking about.
It's always your best.
Yeah,
referrals.
Yeah, and y'all two are going to benefit from it. But most importantly, I was going to touch on this earlier. The thing about, I think the reason that this works there's a lot of reasons why it works. One of the main reasons why it's successful, it's growing, and it continues to be successful and grows because you're truly helping people, right? Yeah. It's not, you know, there's a lot of business models out there, you know, that sell all kinds of different things, whether it be a service or a product. But this right here, what you do genuinely change lives for the better.
It does.
And that's as far as ethically, I guess, I don't know.
It's just more of a hands-on approach. Let's just be honest about it. I wouldn't call it more ethical or less ethical. It's just more of a hands-on approach that we make sure that people are getting the results, right?
Right.
No, I'm just talking about the business model all by itself will continue to be successful because...
Damn it, Mike.
It was probably Lucas. Lucas, you should have secured that better. But we're going to let this... Hold on.
Just let it fall.
You do that, Philip. You're the one messing with it.
What?
See?
Me?
Yeah, you're messing with the...
Messing with what?
Yeah.
No.
Well, another thing I like is that, so as far as it validates it, because this is one of the few... A lot of health and fitness, let's face it, there's a lot of good... I mean, you can find almost anything you want out there. I mean, it's like there's a training program.
Very true.
And it's like, but there's also, I mean, like every business, there is a lot of bullshit.
Trap. Yeah.
Bullshit.
From supplements to like, have you tried this diet? And that's what I like about it is people come on this and this. And I tell my clients too, it's like, well, it's like, you know, it's not, keto is a big thing. Okay. I'm not a big fan. And I've seen what, you know, actually, low carb sometimes can be a tool. Right. The reason people like keto is because it eliminates the simple sugars. Right. So then they're able to get control of their appetites and they like that. And you can get the same benefit by, it fixes a problem with a hammer because keto throws out all the carbohydrates.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I'll tell my customers I won't argue with results. And I have probably seen 4 or 5 people I can't tell you how many hundreds doing keto. Most of the time I can talk them into doing some complex carbohydrates and they get better results and they're off that wagon. But a lot of times I will have a person that's sticking with it. They lose a lot of weight. They're losing muscle too. And they crash and then they go out and binge for carbs for 2 to 3 months. I don't see them. And then they come back in.
Yeah.
And it's like they're doing keto again.
Yeah.
But eventually
It worked last time.
Yeah. So it's it's one of the few things out there that I like it because I can quantify.
Yeah.
It removes so much of the guesswork, which is actually really not only satisfying to me as a previous data analyst, but it's satisfying to them because then they can see it's like, yeah, okay, so I was right. My coach was right. This is working, and now I'm going to get where I want to go.
Yeah.
You can literally see their eyes light up.
Yeah. Oh, for no doubt. I remember the feeling. I remember sitting down with you and after that first scan and being like, oh, wow. And then the second one, when I realized what I was doing wasn't working.
Right.
That's when I was like, my mind was blown.
And then you made a course correction based on that data, and you came back in and you made
some
serious progress.
I made some serious progress that second in 45. So first 45 days, I actually went backwards a little bit, not a whole lot, but I did go backwards and then far surpassed where I started, right, in that last 45 days. So a good marker, a good I guess just a good way to track, just to know for sure that you're working or that it is working. I want to ask you this, Mike. So, do you do nutrition plans, or are you just your nutritionist?
I try not to.
Yeah.
Okay, I can. I do. My customers, most of the time, I refer them to the nutritionist because they're better skilled at it than I am.
Good deal. So, at Live Lean,
I keep people from doing the most silliest things.
Right. Yeah. So you're the what we talk about in the bowling alley, the bumpers. You're the bumpers, but the nutritionists are what really dial it in, right? So, hey, don't go way over here and don't go way over here, but also talk to this person and make sure you're,
Yeah. Yeah, like, for instance, when you came in, it's like, I looked at Philip's macros, I looked at Lucas's. I didn't look at yours, so I didn't know what you were doing. But, yeah, if you were coming in, we weren't doing the contest and you were a client of mine, when you come in, I would have asked you, what are you planning on doing?
Right.
Okay? And I probably would have caught it right there.
Right.
And said, this probably isn't going to work too well for you, Darryl.
You're going to come in here 45 days and you're going to be worse.
Yeah.
So at Live Lean, is it just a per session or per scan, or do you have like memberships or how are you doing it?
I do have memberships. Most of the people that come in, they take advantage of our single special, which is $79. It gives you a Dexa and a Fit 3D.
Nice.
And when they come in, almost, I would say 90 to 95% of them buy a 2-pack, and they start from there. And then they can look at it. I kind of let it sell themselves. I have a very simple business model. If I can predict my revenue, I can pass on the savings, which comes out to the more scans you buy, okay, the cheaper my price is going to be.
Right.
Yeah. My first one is the most expensive for me because I have to go through everything with them and educate the client. After that, it just depends on it. And I have a plan that works for just about everyone. Sorting through the customers, them telling me what they wanted. A lot of my older clientele do not like subscriptions. They don't like memberships. They want to just pay up front. I'm fine with that. They're going to get the same discounts. Some of my younger people,
subscribe.
Yeah, they're subscribers, and they're like, I don't want to put out a lot of cash. I just want to pay monthly. Okay, that's fine.
Good
Whatever
deal.
you want to do.
There's ultimately what you're saying is however you want to do it. There's a way you can set it up that'll work for them.
And on average, I have it comes out to, for everyone, about $50-$60 per scan.
Dude,
which is one of the lowest prices in the country.
Oh, so I don't know what, you say $50-$60. Some people go, nothing. Some people go, oh, wow, it's a lot.
Yeah.
No matter how you slice it, you're getting a lot of information.
Yeah, for $50.
And a lot of direction for $50.
Yeah.
I mean, to take all the guesswork out of your nutrition and fitness plan for $50, to me personally is there's no better value out there. Phil and I say this all the time. You're either going to pay for your health now with time or money, and or money, or you're going to pay in the future with time and or money. You're going to pay for it at some point. So do you want to be 50 and on insulin and having to take all these prescription medicines and not feel good about yourself? Or do you want to pay $50-$60 a scan right now for a little while and for a couple of training sessions and be in shape and have a good direction, good trajectory?
Right. And the other thing that I've learned is if I talk to the customers, meet where they're at, I don't hard sell. I just don't. They sell themselves. Basically, in fact, believe it or not, a lot of times I am telling them they don't need to do this. I'll have people that'll sign up for all 3 tests.
Yeah.
And if they haven't been working out, one of the tests we do is a Vo2 Max Test. That's a measurement of cardiovascular fitness, and it gives us a whole bunch of other data. If someone's been sedentary, usually I will tell them, let's get your base nutrition and your base activity. Let's get that nailed down, and we'll do the Vo2 Max later when you'll get more value out of it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So you'd want them to come in, get scanned, see where they're at, get the nutrition, get the training regimen dialed, and then, like you said, once they're getting a little bit better shape and it's going to bring true value, then we can do the VO2.
Yeah.
That's the one, right? Your treadmill mask?
Yep, treadmill and mask. Yeah, the metabolic cart, there's 2 different metabolism tests, which is the second part of our business. So we're measuring body composition. That gives us a lot of guidance how to set someone's macronutrients up based on the composition of their body. A lot of it correlates to the composition of the food they need to be eating. And then metabolically, we'll do an RMR, especially on someone's new, just to see where their baseline calories are. Which formerly, that's why I have a nutritionist sending me other clients. They'll just get that RMR test.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to have to guess. RMR values online are estimates, and they're based on the general population. If you ever noticed any of these estimates, they're going to always ask you the same 4 questions: height, weight, age, and gender.
Yeah.
And then they're going to make assumptions about your body based on the general population, which is 40% overweight.
Yeah.
So it's a bad proposition. I can dial in and tell you exactly how many, and that's 50 to 60% of all the calories you can consume in one day.
Yeah.
Is just to keep you alive and performing optimally. Yeah. And I tell my clients the performing optimally is important. You don't want to eat below your RMR because your body, especially significantly, because your body's really smart. And it's going to protect your brain and central nervous system first, then your organs. But your muscle mass and your metabolism, those are nice to have. It just shuts them down. It has to. It's called conservation of energy.
Right.
You're only giving it so much food. It's going to prioritize what it needs.
Like you said, your body's smart. It knows.
Very smart.
It's gonna adapt to whatever you're throwing at it. And you go below that RMR, then you're not gonna feel great. That's gonna
you're not gonna feel good. That's for sure.
Yeah. No,
you're not gonna feel good. Your body's gonna underperform intentionally to try to conserve your energy. Super cool, man. So those are the 2 main parts, huh, Mike? Your Dexa and your your
metabolic piece.
Exactly. Yeah. And again, following the lines of how do individual pro and college athletes get their plans. It's body composition, metabolism, and blood labs, and that's what our functional medicine provider provides, the blood labs.
Yep.
So from those 3 data sets, I can take someone as far as, in other words, you're going to get the same treatment with us that you would if you were a professional athlete.
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're using the same metrics.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what they're doing, right?
Exactly.
That's really cool, and I'm glad you said professional athletes, and you actually said. You said this earlier. People come in later after they've been getting in shape for a while, and man, I should have came in the beginning. Yeah. So my wife is she's an NPC bodybuilder, right? Bikini girl, and what a crazy tool, that it for people like her to use. Any bodybuilder, anybody who's trying to change body composition for a competition, or for some of these people do it for a living, right? Professional bodybuilders. What better tool to have than to know exactly where you're at and how everything looks during all stages of your prep, And so she was like, when I started telling her about this, she didn't even know what a DEXA was either. And when I started telling her about it, she's like, man, I wish I would have known where I started, where I was at on stage, and then where I'm at now, because she's about to go into another prep, probably a little later this year. And it would be very beneficial to know if, where she started last time versus where she's starting this time, if she wants to not necessarily be leaner on stage, but be heavier and leaner, if that makes sense.
Have more muscle mass.
Have more muscle mass, right?
At a lower body weight.
And that's such a cool thing for people who are trying to pursue that goal too. You have a lot of bodybuilders come in?
It's about 30% of my clients.
Yeah. And something.
And I didn't plan that. It's just the area I'm in. And interesting enough, when I opened the business, I was chasing those trainers, and I fell flat. They did not want to hear it. I have a lot of trainers that understand nutrition. Bodybuilding trainers generally are handing you the meal plan that their coach handed them 10 years ago. Yeah. So they didn't want to hear it, but their clients found me. Yeah. And once they started finding me and they started seeing the value in it, they really couldn't deny it. Yeah. And there was kind of a little bit of a vested, I guess you would say, there is another tool. Okay, it's called the InBody that uses bioimpedance to measure body fat, and it's not super accurate, especially when someone gets lean.
I was going to say the leaner, the less accurate. More,
the leaner they get, it skews them to being even much more leaner than they truly are. By as much as 8 or 10%.
Ooh, wow.
It also skews my really obese clients much fatter than they truly are. Because it uses a smoothing algorithm, and it's to the distribution curve of the population. So it's not really a true measurement. It's an extrapolation.
Oh, in short, the more extreme you get one way or the other, the more it falls off.
Yeah. By the time you get really fit, it's giving you bad numbers.
Yeah. or really fat, it's giving you bad numbers
exactly.
too. So, something I wanted to...
now I've got the coaches that own those, they're still sending them to comp. What they figured out is the machines they have are good enough for trend, up or down, but when they need a true number, especially when they're competing, because I can tell you this, some of the top coaches in my area with bodybuilders, the ones that win, place, or show, they're sending their clients to me.
Oh,
plain
dude.
and simple.
I tell you right now, if I was a personal trainer or a competition trainer, no doubt I'd be sending everybody to you. It'd probably be included in my price, at least, especially on prep, at least once every few weeks, right? You got to go see Mike. That's part of the deal. And charge them in their plan is probably how I would model it. I wanted to touch on something a little different, Mike. Not a little different, a little bit off of this topic. So you said aside from MRI, this scan is the most comprehensive. The only one can see soft tissue, right? I had somebody ask me this, and I want to let everybody know that's listening. When you go to get a Dexa scan, because there's people that have claustrophobia, that it is not, you are not inside of a tube.
Nope.
You actually lay on a bed. It's open. It's like laying on your like a twin size mattress almost. And it scans over the top of you with a single arm. So you're not enclosed in this capsule. No. Don't worry about, because there are people that, I was talking to some guys at work, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I'd want to go lay, because I'm not unless if I needed to. And I was like, no, it's not like that. So I want to just kind of let that be known for
and the scan's actually really quick. It's about 6 or 7 minutes.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You lay down, Mike gives you a quick adjust. Hey, make sure you're either this way or that way, up or down. Man, that thing scans you. You pop up less than 10 minutes. You got within 10 minutes, you know exactly what's going on within, as far as body composition is concerned. It's such an easy, painless, no claustrophobia going on. So I want to throw that in there. I know it's a little off topic, I guess.
No, it's very open.
Yeah. Anything else, guys? What do you think, Phil?
No, I mean, I'm happy to talk about the competition a little bit more.
I forgot. All right, so we're back in action. Phil, you said we need to talk about the competition. Mike said he's down for it. I said I'm not down for it.
You asked. I just said I wouldn't mind.
Well, you go ahead, Phil. You take the floor, and I'll take some notes.
Well, we can just line. I mean, I know you said it earlier, but we can just reiterate the placing.
All right, so Phil was first. Mike was second. I was third, and Lucas was fourth. And I'll tell you right now, the gap from first to second wasn't even close.
Well, I can tell you,
dominated. I didn't even know it was possible.
It wasn't. I wouldn't.
Yeah. So Philip, it was like in the end, he was able to. I knew he was going to put on more muscle than me, and I also beat him last year. Okay, I'm just going to.
Yeah, Mike did win last year. Yeah, he did beat me last year.
I wasn't involved last year.
Yeah, but I knew Philip was going to put on a ton of muscle. Okay, and I wasn't going to be able to compete with that. But Philip this time put on the muscle, and he cut really low on the body fat, which
I didn't even know that was possible, man. That was those were very impressive.
I think that not to get off into the weeds or anything, but last year I was just not at a good spot. Nobody knows that my mental spot was not very good.
Oh, I know.
That's critical, because it was like I in the beginning of the contest, you remember my numbers weren't too good either. I cut my calories too low, and I know better, and I still did it anyway. And then I started making really fast traction, and in the end, that's usually when I'm at my best, and I cut really hard and fast. I just couldn't do it. I mean, honestly, I was just like, I just don't feel like doing it.
Yeah. I think for me, honestly,
I got distracted.
The progress was all mental.
Yeah.
Because
we pushed each other.
Yeah.
All of us did.
Unfortunately,
there was some trash talk.
But too many people overlook the mental aspect to self-improvement.
Oh,
wow.
To self-development and all that stuff is all mental first. And for me, last year, like I said, I think I was in a bad place mentally. So, and also, I'll say this too. We started the competition in end of December?
It was like mid,
It was
December 17th.
It was like early November that I started to dial in.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, I had a little bit of a jump start.
Yeah.
Because November is when my mental clarity kind of started coming together.
Yeah.
And I started to feel better. I was making improvements. Everything was already kind of coming together for me. but I was coming from the worst shape I've probably been in
a long
my
time.
entire adult life,
Yeah.
to be totally honest. So I think I was coming from the worst shape in my whole adult life, had a month of traction on you guys. And I think and by doing the Dexa and the competition, being surrounded by my friends, it was just
Yeah.
everything was perfect for me.
I think you're touching on something that's very important here. I think for all of us, it was kind of the motivation we needed to just
Everyone improved. Let's talk about that too.
Every single one of us got better, right?
Right.
Every single one of us lowered our body fat percentage at the very least, to end the competition, right? So, but us, I think the camaraderie, the competitive, the trash talk, it was all something that I really enjoy. That I'm a competitive person. I like trash talk, especially with my friends.
Yeah.
And it was just a very fun 90 days with the group chat.
Yeah.
We had a group chat going on. It was trash. Every week it was trash talk, threatening to send each other donuts.
And it wasn't a lot on the line, right? The things that were on the line was dinner covered. It cost each of you guys $100 because we went to a nice restaurant.
$100.
We went to a nice restaurant. I got some nice free.
I enjoyed that.
We went to a very nice overpriced restaurant.
Yes, it was a very nice overpriced restaurant.
I got some.
Philip punished us.
Yeah.
I got some very nice and very free lamb chops and sushi. Yeah. and it was very
Also,
great.
Bone marrow.
It
We got
was
bone marrow.
We did
Yeah,
get
bone marrow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is very expensive.
It was good,
ordered
too.
bone marrow. I didn't know you could even order bone
Yeah,
marrow.
it was great.
I will say it was also Phil's birthday.
Yeah.
So
So that
it was
made
kind of like a double whammy. It was kind of like I would have probably tried to pay for your food anyway.
Yeah.
That's kind of just me as a friend, right? I mean,
Yeah,
we
it took
probably
you-
all would have. Yeah. at Whataburger down the street.
Yeah.
But no, it was a really cool. The competition was really cool to just kind of shake things up. I think
I love it too. Every once in a while, I need that because a lot of people that in my business they compete surely for that to set a goal.
Right.
That was the previous year. I grabbed Phil and I said, "Hey, will you get in a challenge with me? I need some motivation."
This would have been 21
Yeah.
last year.
Yeah, last year.
Yeah. It was
It was just y'all two.
Yeah, it was just
it was
us.
just us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I wasn't involved in that one, but I wouldn't mind making this a regular thing, maybe like annually.
Once a year,
after
twice
the
a
winter,
year.
after the winter starts to wear off, and we're all a
Yeah.
little fluffy because we get fluffy in the winter time around here.
Well, Lucas getting married
Ooh,
December.
Yeah.
A competition leading up into that.
Jim Chipotle wedding. That's how it works.
Yeah.
That's the
And then after
that's
you
the
get married,
secret.
you get as fat as you want.
Yeah. Summer can't do anything about it. Hey, you just look her straight in the eye and say, "You knew what you were getting into." Tell her that.
Let her know.
You let her know.
No, but yeah, I think it was great. We could do this every once in a while.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah,
You know,
and maybe
everyone
next time
improved.
We put
so.
a cap limit on the restaurant, Whataburger only, or Bonnie's Donuts only.
Yeah,
right.
and we could switch it up too. Like I think that we kind of had a hard time coming up with, what the punishment was coming on the podcast and and
Admitting
talking
your
about
loss.
admitting the loss and then
Well,
the dinner.
I think it was kind of one of the, if I remember right, it was kind of like, hey, we just want to do this competition. That was the beginning, right?
Yeah.
That was initially, and then it was like,
It was you and Philip. And then
Yeah.
I said, I want in.
right,
Oh,
want
yeah.
And then we made Lucas do
and
it.
then we drug Lucas.
but I think it was more about just doing it.
Yeah.
And then later on, we were like, well, hold on, there has to be a price to pay, right? And then
Right.
so it wasn't kind of like, it wasn't something that was like we were trash talking and you do this, you do that, and then okay, well, we'll have a competition. If you lose, that's what you do. That's not how it came. It was like competition first, and then later we figured out what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
So it was fun though. I did lose. That's me on the podcast admitting. Probably will never happen again. Hey,
Good luck.
hats off to Mike for let's just be honest, a lot older than we are, and absolute shredder, man. Like for being. I mean, Lucas is 21. We're 30.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, dude, to kicked our two asses, and dude, my hat is off. I said this on the last podcast. My hat is off to you, dude. Such a cool thing to see somebody a little older that is getting after it.
Yeah,
You know,
It's
getting after it.
I love it when people my age come in too, but unfortunately it's more rare.
Right.
This is why I tend to hang out with younger people, because a lot of guys my age, it's like you want to talk about sports? I'm like, are we talking about doing sports or watching sports?
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
talking about sitting on the couch watching the Texans lose, eating
Yeah.
chicken wings and drinking beer.
Yeah,
And it's
exactly.
like, that's just not my thing.
Yeah,
So-
you know, I mean, I don't mind talking a little Houston sports, but like you said, more importantly, I want to talk about me.
Myself, what I can do
Right.
to
I mean,
do something.
life is out there. You
Right.
gotta go live it, and it's
I'm
like,
with that 100%.
Absolutely, dude. I'm
Right.
100%, dude. Life is out there, Phil. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad to have you back, dude.
Yeah,
Phil,
I'm with it. I'm really focused on getting my whole life, you know, where I want it to
Recentered.
go. Yeah,
Recentered.
Yeah. Recentered. Yeah, for sure. Get the hobbies, get the business right.
Yeah.
Get all of the friends, the social, the relationships, the everything, you know, and keep moving forward and forever too. This doesn't end, right? We want to keep growing into our 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s. Like, that's still young.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, that's
like-
a very young
I feel
age.
like Mike's going to still be competing when he's like 85.
No doubt.
Hey, I have one of my clients is an 82-year-old surfer.
Oh, wow.
82
Yeah, and he's
Two-year-old
also
surfer.
good on a skateboard.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's
See?
that is a bad.
That's who I want to be.
Right.
You know?
I want to
Yeah.
be like 92
Yeah.
Yeah.
and surfing. That'd be pretty cool. Or lifting, still
I
lifting.
can't. I'm 30 and can't ride a skateboard, so I don't know about 80.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know about the whole skateboard thing. Maybe still training.
How about a bicycle? You know,
Yeah.
I'll go with a
Yeah,
bike. So
I'll do the bike.
cool.
All right, Phil. We talked about what you wanted to talk about.
right, we're good.
The last
We're good
thing
then.
you wanted to cover. Mike, you got anything else, man?
No, I'm good. Thanks
Hey,
for having me on. It's been fun.
Yeah, dude, and you'll see Mike again, y'all. We're gonna
no doubt.
We're gonna do another competition at some point. We're always involved with Live Lean. OTG is, and like I said, there's no better tool for a personal trainer and for an individual trying to track their progress. Mike, where's the best place for the viewers to find you? Do you like email, online, website?
Yeah, a website or Facebook is generally how people usually find us. And if anyone does any Google search for Dexa, I'm going to be first.
Yeah,
I'm on top.
'cause you're doing
I
it right
dominate the first page.
So your business name is Live Lean RX Houston.
Correct.
And I think on Instagram, is there any underscores at all one word? I think it's Live Lean _RX Houston or something
That's
like that.
correct. Yep.
Live Lean _RX Houston. All you got to do is Google Live Lean RX or Dexa Houston.
Yeah, just Google Dexa.
And-
Body
Houston.
composition,
Yeah.
fat analysis.
Yeah, right.
Right,
Yeah.
giving us the keywords.
Yeah.
Anything you want. It's
Yeah.
like it's going to lead to me.
Right here in Webster, man. So, right down the street, but centrally located, El Camino and Bay Area, that area. So come, guys, listen, if you want to know,
Very valuable.
If you want to know if your formula is working, go see Mike, dude. That's the only way that I mean, that's the best advice that I can give you is, get a baseline before you start.
Yeah.
And then, let Mike coach you from there. Hey, get started, come back in 90 days or 60 days, whatever it is, right? Depending on what you're trying to
Right.
accomplish. And you will not be disappointed. If y'all don't have anything else, we're going to take this one out.
That's it.
We're going to take it to the gym, and then we're going to take it to Tookies because we want
That's
to
what I'm
make
talking
sure
about.
that we don't make
Yeah.
any progress at the gym. Right? All right, guys, we're out. Thanks for listening.